So let me explain how I made my racing mower. Anyways, basically I'm going to explain the pulley drive system and the gearing, everything, requirements, things that can break, and what you need to make sure that it can be able to withstand how much is too much, because you can go too much more than you need. Um, that's one thing if you're trying to make it go faster and faster. If you're actually racing, I'm not racing this thing. I still call it a race mower because it goes as fast as hell. I mean, maybe I'll race it. Who knows? If I can get my buddies to build these things too. I don't think they have the brains still. I don't think they can do much more than clean a carburetor, honestly, to tell you the truth. If they can even do that right. So, here's the front pulley. I have this is an MTD, just a drive tower. It has the small pulley on the top and the big pulley in the bottom. What happened, what I did is I cut off where the shaft that goes to the big pulley, this big pulley here for the which was once the mower deck, and I just re-welded on. If you actually look around here, these areas got hot, and that's actually where the pulley was. The back of the pulley was welded in, the small one was welded in down inside this cone shape, and I did that where I balanced that out so that way it would be straight. And on the back here, I know the belt's rubbing, we're gonna fix that, but I have a 3-inch pulley, and then I have an idler pulley. Actually, here's the idler pulley there, and this is actually for the V-belt. It's in a V shape. This is for the outside of the belt. This is the tensioner pulley, and here's the idler pulley. This, I don't know why it's like that. It's kind of how I got when I got the tractor, but I guess maybe something may have connected onto here, but I'm not really sure. So, and then we have this. This actually has a bearing in it. And as you can see here, the belt can flex on this spring here. And it's the tensioner spring here. So, alright, so one thing that you want when you have these going here, it's very tight underneath there. One way to do it is a one-to-one gearing. So, what a lot of people like to do is they'll usually take, so here's a tower, a pulley tower off a stock mower, and they'll usually take the stock tower, they'll just ignore this piece on here, they either cut it off for the mower, and usually what they'll do is they'll usually just put on just a regular size belt. They go in there, leave that on there, and then they'll usually swap this one out with a really, really small one, usually like a little pulley like this big. I've seen someone change them on there. Alright, so there's a few issues with that. Number one, there's not enough, you'll get the same ratios and be probably the same speed. There is not enough area on that belt, and what's going to wind up happening is it's going to pinch itself around that little thing there, and it's just going to slip, and it's just going to probably eventually chew up the belt, and you're going to wind up with a belt that's going to rip. But this isn't necessarily to say that you don't want the belt to slip a little bit, but I know people who do that, they won't even be able to get their front wheels to get off the ground, and I tell you what, you should actually, when you do gearing like this, you'll actually be able to get them front wheels up off the ground. So you gotta keep in consideration about that, because if you use a pulley like this here, without, and then a real small one in the back, if you're doing one-to-one with this pulley, that's fine. But if you do a real small one in the back, that's too small. Get a bigger pulley like this here, and then a bigger pulley in the back. Because what also people don't realize is, not only are you putting that tension on there, but since you're actually not pulling as much tension on the belt if you have it out to here, with the same amount of torque from the motor, if you're actually pulling it out to here as you would in here, you'll be pulling a lot tighter on that belt, and you can eventually cause that belt to snap. As I don't know, it could just randomly snap on you. So versus you'd want it in here, you can cause the belt to snap. But if you had a big one like this, it pulls out faster. The only difference is the belt travels at a much greater speed. So along with that, we do want the belt to slip just a hair when you're taking off. That way you don't. It's easier on transmission. Eventually you'll probably break teeth or something in the transmission, or just blow up the tranny from the speed anyhow. But what you also want to keep in consideration is that you want the belt just to slip just a little bit when you take off. So in that case, if you're going to put bigger pulleys on there, well, just to get that little bit of slip, if you can actually feel it like almost slamming in, and it just feels like a motor bogs down real low, which it will, it's normal. But if you can actually feel like this belt don't slip at all, this is actually fairly loose. I mean, it's not real loose, but it's got some slack on it. And if you do have that problem, we'll put a lighter spring on these. You can get these springs at the hardware store, and just switch that down with a lighter spring, or move the spring to like a different hole, and that will loosen up that spring on there. And that way the belt can get just a slight bit of slip. Now here's the thing, there's too much slip that you can get. So, I'm sorry, it's really hard to get underneath there. So let's say we're trying to take off on the engine, we're trying to take off as we're going off, and it takes off very slow, but then it goes fast. Well, as soon as you're letting go of that clutch, that movement, it's grabbing. The pulleys are tight. So that means that the belt's slipping. It's the only thing that could mean. There's no clutches or anything, so that means that belt's slipping until it gets up to speed. So you just want it just to go, you don't want to just all of a sudden go to like max speed like instantly, and you'll really feel that. You want it to just kind of pick up to speed just a real little bit, not just all of a sudden slam, boom, we're at like top speed. Because that will eventually also can cause your belt to break and do damage to your tranny. One other thing you can do is you can also take these trannies out, drill a hole in the top, and you can put a plug. You can actually tap which I actually am gonna do. You can actually just drill a hole in there, just run a like a thread tap in there, and just put a plug in it. And you can probably in the bottom too, put a plug in the bottom there too, and same thing. And when you do that, you want it to be in the lowest part of this transaxle, which would be, actually it would be right here. That's the lowest part. You don't necessarily want it underneath the differential there. I mean, I guess you could put it there, but right there, that's almost the lowest point. So put it right there, and that way you can actually add. You just put gear lube, just heavy weight, like an 80 weight. Put that in there, and technically the good thing to do would be to take it apart, pull the grease out, because they fill these with grease, but the grease and the oil can work together. It ain't gonna hurt as long as you actually get that. Just because the grease at high speeds, the grease will not cover the gears fully, and you may experience lack of lubrication. So if you put the 80 weight oil inside there, it'll lubricate the trans a little better. I got this tractor at the junkyard, that's why it's all rusted underneath there. I only painted the top here and stuff. But I am gonna kind of just napalm it with a spray can underneath there. So you just put a plug like right up here, right next to where that shifter would be, and you put another one down there. You can actually change the oil in it, and if you want, you can actually just put a pipe tap, like a pipe tap in there, and you can actually, if you wanted to, you could run the plug up to like here, the pipe going to like up here or somewhere around here. This is all set up in my own way. This is nothing like how it used to be set up. Gas tank used to be like up here and stuff, but this one has a fuel pump on this engine and stuff. Or I'll put it like right here, the oil plug right here, and then you can fill the trans with oil. Then to change the oil, which you probably will never have to.